Right, in video number 3, we are going to add flooring and roofs and a ceiling to our building. So essentially, we will complete her building envelope. So at this point, if we go look at our 3D, it doesn't really look like much has changed from part 1 to part 2, because really all we were doing was just ever so slightly shifting our building or our house around. But let's go back into our level 1 floor plan. And first we are going to put in floors. So the way that I like to use the floor tool is I sort of treat my floor systems as one big floor for the whole building, and then smaller floors for my various finishes. Now, if you want to hide your dimension strings so that this way they're not like in the way while you're working on this, again, you can right click on one of your dimensions and you could do hide in view element, would just only get rid of that one. But if we were to right click hide in view category, we could just hide all of our dimension strings. And that way we're just looking only at a blank CAD floor plan. And then again, if we ever wanted to get them back, which we will at the very end, we can go into reveal hidden elements and then we can see them. So I could click on this little light bulb and I could click on one of them and I could right click to unhide something in my view for it. So again, just clicking on that light bulb just lets you see stuff you have hidden. So I've just hidden my dimensions so that way they're just a little bit not in the way right now. And I'm going to start the floor tool, which does not have a keyboard shortcut. And once you start the floor tool, it's going to lock you out of Revit, and you can only then either just say, please make my floor, or you could cancel a floor. But the floor tool is right here in your architecture toolbar. And we can see that in our floor types, in our properties panel, I've got a few floors in here. One of them is our floor structure. So this is going to be like a joist with some subfloor on it. And then I have a couple other floors that I just like to use for finishes, as well as then our concrete slab that we'll use for our decks in there. So I'm going to start off with my floor structure in here, and I'm going to put my floor on level 1. And by default, this floor should be set to pick wall. So over here, it is already highlighted to be pick wall. It's kind of like a little light blue rectangle or square around it. And it's already also checked off to extend into core, which is what I want. So I'm going to hover over one of my exterior walls and then just tap the tab key. And then I'm going to click without moving my mouse to just get all of my exterior walls included in here. So I'm going to Control Z to undo that. Additionally, what I could do is I could just click on each of my exterior walls individually. Whoops, Control Z, I didn't click on that one. So I could just go click on each one of them. That's not going to be harmful at all, but I'll just undo all of that. If I hover over an exterior wall and I just tap the tab key and then click, it'll get the whole chain of them. And I want to make sure that this wall is going to that outside. So see right here how it's on the inside of it? I just want to make sure it's going to the outside of the wall, because our floor joist would be going to the outside of our stud. And just because I did Control Z too much, my floor type changed back to concrete slab. So again, I want it to just be that floor structure. And I'll hit my green check. And it's going to look like not a whole lot happened, but if I go into my 3D view and orbit around a little bit, holding the Shift key and the scroll wheel, I now have a floor system sitting underneath my building in there. Now, I want all of my exterior walls to go down past that floor system, so I'm going to give them a base offset of negative whatever this floor's thickness is. So if I click on it, I can see here that this floor has a thickness of 10 inches. So I'm going to select all of my exterior walls, which I could do by hovering on one, tapping the tab key, and then clicking to get the chain of them. Or I could click on one of my exterior walls, right click, select all instances in entire project, and it'll select all of the instances of exterior wall types in here. And I'm going to give it a base offset of negative 0 foot 10 inches. And then I'll just move my cursor out of the properties panel and now those walls will go past our floor. Back in my level 1 floor plan, I'm then going to go around and just add in exterior or interior finishes for my different rooms within my building here. So I'm going to put in my bathrooms, I'll put in some tile, and in my bedrooms, I'll put some carpet in, and then the rest of my building, I'll put in just plain wood floor. So the way, again, I like going about making floors is a little different than some other tutorials you may see. But now that I just have that structure in, I'm going to go back into the floor tool, and I'm going to change my floor type to, let's just make it this tile only. I'm going to take note of whatever the thickness is, and then I'm going to give my tile floor a height offset of that thickness. So I'm going to give it a height offset of positive 1/4 inch. So that way it'll just float kind of above my subfloor. Instead of using this pick wall tool, I'm actually just going to click on my draw line tool, and I'm just going to draw around my bathroom. And I'll sometimes go through walls. So since I've got another bathroom here, I'll just go down to this one. Straight over. So I'm just tracing around my wall here. And then straight back up. It needs to be a completely closed path. And then to finish it off, I'm going to hit my green check mark. And now I have a tile flooring. So I'll orbit around a little bit to see it. I've got tile hanging out above my bathroom. Maybe I wouldn't necessarily have tile inside like this part of my linen closet. Maybe it's got a different finish, but I certainly wouldn't have finished tile going underneath this wall, but it was just kind of easier to model it that way. But now I've got my tile within this area. I'm going to go put carpet in both of my bed or all 3 of my bedrooms. So I'm going to do another floor. I'm going to change my floor type to this carpet only option. Again, think about my thickness and make sure my height offset matches that thickness. And then instead of the pick wall tool, I'm going to use this draw line option. So I'm going to click on that and then draw around my walls. And again, it has to be a closed loop, but you can have more than one loop. So I've got this bedroom that I'm going to put carpet in. I could put carpet in this part as well in the same floor. So I can even go around and trace around this bedroom. As long as it's a closed loop, and then I'll hit my green check mark to finish up my carpet floor. So now I have carpet in those areas. And then the rest of this building, I'm going to put a just wood floor finish in. So I'm going to make another floor by clicking on floor here. And for my floor type, I'm going to do wood finish. And then I'm going to use my line tool. Now with this one, I am going to have to keep in mind like these thresholds around the bathroom doors and the carpet door as well, that I'm going to want to go kind of up and over. I don't want to just leave no finish there. I'll go up and around, maybe even around the threshold of the exterior door. And there are other ways to go about floors. I just find this to be the easiest for me personally. And I also kind of like it because it makes a little bit more of like an accurate estimate of how much like flooring or carpeting you may need. Now, if I wanted to get really accurate, I would make sure like that I would always go around all of my walls, but I don't need to necessarily make an accurate schedule out of this. So I'm just gonna trace around my opening and then to my original. Now, if I forgot a line somewhere, so I'm going to just click on this one and delete it. If it wasn't a closed loop, it's going to give me an error saying it has to be closed, and it's going to show somewhere where it's not closed for it. And so sometimes what might be your easiest option is to click this red X and just start anew. However, in this case, it's pretty obvious that that's where my problem is. So I'm just going to hit continue, go back into my line tool, and then finish it off. Sometimes you may have as well, so I'll even draw a second line on top of this one, and it warned me, hey, don't do that. So then I can click on this line and I can hit the delete key. So that way this will be a closed loop. I'll hit my green check. And then I've got wood flooring in here for the rest of my house or my building. Now, sometimes the flooring hatches, which I just realized I forgot to do this threshold here, it looks like. So let's select one of my floorings. Let's go into my 3D view so I can click on my carpet. I can edit my carpet. I'm going to go into my level 1 floor plan, click on this line and delete it. And then I'm going to go into my line tool. Probably would have the tile coming out this way instead of having the carpet going in, but I'm going to make the carpet go in because I can. There we go. And now let's hit my green check. Okay. I just noticed that there was an empty spot there. But sometimes in the floor plan, the flooring can kind of be a little bit overbearing to like look at and sort of take over a little bit too much. So what we can do if we want to get rid of our flooring is we can go into our visibility and graphic settings, which is this button here, or keyboard shortcut VG. And then these are all in alphabetical order. I'm just going to click F for floor just to take me there a little faster. And you can see that I've already set it in your template file to halftone them. So if I uncheck that, that's what our floor looked like initially. But I had it set to just kind of half it. But we even could uncheck floors altogether. And then just in a floor plan view, or in this level 1 floor plan, floors aren't visible. So they're still in the project, they're just not visible. I'm going to leave them there just half-toned, but if it's going to bug you to see them and look at them, then we can always just, of course, check them off like that to hide them from this view. Next, we'll put in a ceiling around our whole building. So if we go look at our 3D, we can see those floors in there a little bit more so, or not even a little bit more so, a lot more so. And let's add our ceilings into our building. So I'm going to go back into my level 1 floor plan, and I'm going to start the ceiling tool, which also does not have a keyboard shortcut, but it's going to be this button here. And I personally would set my ceiling height of level 1. Let's put our ceilings at, say, 9 foot tall for our height offset. And instead of using our automatic ceiling, let's sketch a ceiling in, but let's use our pick wall tool. So I'm going to click on pick wall. I'm going to select all of my exterior walls, so I could either click on each one individually, or I could, if I do Control Z enough, whoops, I Control Z myself out of the command. I could do sketch ceiling, pick wall. I could hover over one, hit tab, and then click to do the whole chain. And we want our ceiling joist to go to the inside. So mine's on the outside, so I'm just going to click on that arrow just to flip it to the inside. And then I'm going to check OK, or the green check mark. And if I look at my building 3D now, I can no longer see inside of it at all because of the fact that I have that ceiling there at 9 feet. But if I wanted to look inside, what I can do in my 3D view is I can check this section box option, and that gives me this box around my house. I can click on that box and I can move to cut it open kind of at any height, as well as cut it open in a direction as well for it. So if I needed to, for whatever reason, slice my building open that way, I could slice it. So I really, really enjoy the section, especially after we put a roof on our building. So if we look back at our original files, that's weird. Okay, it's not gonna snap to be full screen. That's fine, I guess. We can see our roof a little bit more. We have a just regular gable style roof. We're actually going to model it as two separate roofs, just to be able to get those two separate slopes. We have a slope of 8/12 for our roof in either direction. And we have an overhang of, I believe it's 2 feet. But let's just, even in this AutoCAD file, let's double check. Yep, she's 2 feet for it. So we can apply that overhang to our building kind of by default, and we'll have essentially one roof that's going to be on this part of our building with that 2-foot overhang, and then we'll do another roof on this part of our building and kind of combine them together into one. Sometimes roofs can be a little tricky, so I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what happens. See if I maybe need to make some adjustments or some settings with it. But I picked this one because it has a pretty simple roof. So I'm going to go into my level 1 floor plan again, and I'm going to go into the architecture tab, and I'm going to make a roof by footprint. When I go to make my roof, it's automatically warning me, hey, you're trying to put your roof on the lowest level of your project, which is kind of dumb. So they're saying, do you want to move it to level 2? So I'm going to say yes. Now, if I already had a foundation level, it wouldn't be warning me about this. So that's something I need to keep in mind. So I'm going to make my roof at level 2. I'll use this basic roof here for this 00 Mount Laurel roof. This is one that I made with our different parts built into it. I'm going to give it automatically an overhang of 2 feet. So I'm going to change my overhang setting here to 2 feet. And I'm in pick wall by default. So I'm just going to click 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and I'll leave it for now, but it still needs to be a closed loop, like a floor would need to be a closed loop. So to make these two lines meet each other, I'm going to use the Trim Extend to Corner tool, which is keyboard shortcut TR, and that little icon pops up next to my cursor, and I'm going to select these two lines, and it's going to bring the two of them together. Before I hit the green check, I'm going to hit escape a bunch of times because right now my roof is a hip style roof. It's going to slope in all 4 directions. And I can tell that because of these little triangles. So after I've hit escape 100 times, I'm going to click on this edge. I'm going to uncheck define slope. I'm going to click on this edge. I'm going to uncheck define slope. I want a slope of 8/12. So I'm going to click on this line and I'm just going to redo that slope. Instead of 9/12, I'm going to do 8/12. Click on this one, also change it to 8/12, enter. And then I'm going to hit my green check mark. It's not going to look like anything happened because I'm in my floor plan view. But when I go to my 2D view, or my 3D view, excuse me, I have a roof. Because I have my section box cutting part of it off, I just need to grab that and pull it up. So I've got a roof on part of my building. I'm going to add the other half of my roof with just a 2-foot overhang on this side. And on this side, I'm going to make it match to where that roof came out. So on this side, the roof comes out past our covered porch. But on this side, we just have a patio. We don't have a covered porch for it. So I'm going to go back into my level 1 floor plan. I'm going to start the roof tool again, which is this button here. It doesn't have a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to make my roof at level 2. I want that overhang of 2 foot. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I know it's kind of weird for now. And I want this one to go to the other side for that overhang, but looks like it's not going, but we can maybe make it happen anyway. That's okay. We can just manually draw that line in. I'm going to use the trim extend tool to bring these 2 corners together. So again, that's keyword shortcut TR. And then I could click on these 2 lines and it'll bring them in to make that covered porch. And instead of pick walls, I'm just going to draw a line in. And I can give it an offset of 2 feet. And then I'm just going to draw it in here. It's looking a little awkward, but I'll fix it in a second. I'll hit escape 100 times. And then again, I'm going to use the trim tool. So that's TR. And click on these 2 lines to bring them to a corner. These 2 lines to bring these to a corner. Again, to make a gable style roof, I'll hit escape 100 times. And I'm going to click on these 2 vertical edges to have no slopes. I'm going to uncheck define slope. Click on this line, uncheck define slope. And then these 2, I want to have a slope of 8/12. So I'll click on this line as well and change that slope to 8/12. Then I'm going to hit my green check. And let's look in our 3D view of what we have so far. Okay. All right, so there's a couple of things we need to fix. One should be a pretty glaring problem, and that is that we have like big, giant open holes here in our building. So to fix that, we're going to click on this wall, attach, and then attach top. Now, if you're still in Revit 25, it just says attach top to base, and that's the button you want to click. But in Revit 26, it says attach top, and I'll click on that wall. And I can even hover and do all of my exterior walls at once by hovering over one, tapping the tab key, and then clicking attach, attach top. Well, actually, since I have 2 different roofs, I can't really do that. But I can get a bunch of them that way. I could click on this wall, attach, attach top, click on this roof. Since I've got different roofs, I've got to do different attachments. This wall, attach top to this roof, and then detach that target. Now, the other problem we have within our roof, and if I change my 3D visual style over to consistent colors, we can see it a little better. My other issue is the fact that I have like a big gaping hole in level 2 right now. So what I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to go into my level 2 floor plan, which just kind of shows me my building kind of almost from above. It gives me a little underlay of it. And I'm going to draw a wall. I'm going to use my exterior wall here, my 0, exterior wall. And I'm going to have it start at level 2, but go up an unconnected amount, an unconnected height. And I'm really just going to eyeball it from, say, this corner straight over to here. It's warning me that some lines or walls overlap, which that's fine. I'll fix that in a moment. But let's hit escape 100 times. And let's look at it 3D to 1, make sure we have it right side out, which we don't. So you'll see this wall just has that exterior is not facing the right way. So I can click on that wall and hit the space bar to flip it. And then to make it so that it's not jutting out all weird. Actually, let's fix this. Let's pull that over. Keep pulling it over. So I just dragged it until it got in there. And now I'm going to use attach top to base. So I'll click on this wall, attach top, click on that roof. To fix some of these weird overlaps here, as well as like this weird overlap with the roof, we're going to use a tool called Join Geometry, which is keyboard shortcut JG if you installed my keyboard shortcuts. So if you put my keyboard shortcut in, it is JG, and that little circle and square will pop up next to your cursor. If you did not install my keyboard shortcuts, go ahead and click on anything at all in your drawing, and it is this button right here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to join geometry. So I'm going to orbit around. I'm going to join this wall and this wall together. So I clicked on both of those walls and it got rid of that seam. I'll kind of orbit around down this way, click on this wall, and let's see if I can click this one. So sometimes you've got to move your cursor around to be able to select something. I can join this roof and this roof together, and it'll get rid of most of the seam. Sometimes there's usually like a little bit left over, but it seemed to have gotten rid of it. There's maybe a little hint of it still there, but I'm okay with that little hint of it. And then we have our walls, floors, roof. We've got kind of our whole building envelope finished up here. In our next video, we're going to add in our deck and our covered porch, as well as our site and some components within our building.